Oh, I know who I can ask.
Okay, here we are at 2 o'clock. Is Charles here, please? The floor is yours, buddy. Thank you for coming in.
I've been assured that you've read my submission, so I'll speak to some of the reasoning behind it. The history of revolutions shows that they are only successful if the infrastructure to replace a current system is already in place before the revolution begins. So compare the success of the American Revolution against England, where assemblies and Congress were in place before the first shot was fired. Compare that to the failure of the French Revolution, when the lack of effective infrastructure led to the tyranny of Napoleon. We're now facing a revolution that makes former revolutions pale into insignificance. On the success of this revolution hinges the very lives of our children and our grandchildren, and indeed life on earth as we know it. As you will have guessed by now, the major revolution that I refer to is the revolution against fossil fuels, which, while affecting virtually every aspect of our modern life, are destroying our world through global warming. In order for this revolution to be successful, as our children and our grandchildren demand, we must learn from history that first, an infrastructure needs to be put in place, an infrastructure of sustainable, renewable energy generation. Unfortunately, we have learned since the Paris climate talks of 2015 that governments around the world have shirked the responsibility of switching economies from fossil fuel energy to renewable energy, even though the cost of solar and wind energy are now lower than any other form of electricity generation. In New Zealand, our national governments have relied on our hydropower instead of building wind and solar programs that we need. Now, relying on hydro energy is a fool's game, as annual snowfalls are reduced and glaciers recede because of global warming. Ecuador, which relies, like ourselves, on hydro generation for 74% of its energy requirements, had to introduce electricity rationing last month because of global warming-induced drought. So we are at risk in the same way, especially since New Zealand government studies show that we'll need to double our electricity generation in the next 26 years. Our current generation companies are currently loading themselves with debt to pay larger shareholder dividends. This will be a recipe for bankruptcy and will mean that they will not have the capital to build the renewable infrastructure that we require. Therefore, as it happens throughout history, when national governments do not fulfill citizens' expectations, citizens turn to local governments. The local governments need to be ready and able. Now, only 2 countries have made significant efforts to revolve from fossil fuels to renewable energy: Denmark with wind energy and China with solar energy. And Germany is trying hard to join this exclusive club. It is to these countries that we look for examples to follow. China is covering industrial and retail buildings with solar panels. Denmark is planting wind farms on sheep and cattle farms. But Germany provides the best model for Christchurch. Many towns in Germany have citizen-initiated renewable wind and solar energy schemes funded by their populations with an eye not only for energy self-sufficiency, but also as an income generator for themselves and for future generations. Our proposal for a community-owned renewable energy program based on solar panels across our industrial and retail buildings, combined with wind farms in the Rakaia Valley, meets Christchurch City Council obligations to current and future citizens while ensuring self-sufficiency. And in view of increasing demand for electricity, this scheme will cost the council virtually nothing except the cost of planning, yet ensures a long-term income stream to both the council and all citizens who choose to invest in the scheme. As in the model currently being used in many German cities, it's already being used, what I'm talking about, Local citizens and local businesses will invest in bonds and stocks to build the initial fund for the required infrastructure, and then reap the benefits in dividends provided by this renewable energy scheme for themselves and for future generations. Remember, electricity is a very profitable enterprise with great benefits above and beyond the electricity generated. Therefore, our submission to you is include in the current long-term plan a provision for a working group to explore this proposed renewable energy program and learn from German experience, with the goal of implementing it over the course of this 10-year plan, so that Christchurch will have its own profitable generation company to meet future demand and protect current and future generations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's very interesting. Thank you. Any questions? No. Thank you for making the effort to come in. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin.